Welcome. Welcome in Geneva to this Time for Rebels exhibition. Welcome also to all our TAG Heuer fans on Facebook who are following this press conference, which is webcasted in live. Let me introduce you to Jean-Christophe Babin, President and CEO of TAG Heuer.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, all our fans on internet. Thank you for being here. The last time we met, the question was, it was in Basel just 10 months ago, can we go from the moon to Mars? And the answer has been, if you remember, yes, we can. And we unveiled the Microtimer 1000, the first ever, and still only mechanical chronograph, beating at 500 Hertz. That is the only one capable to measure and display the 1,000th of a second. This has been an incredible milestone for Swiss watchmaking, and ever since, two things have happened on the Microtimer. The first thing, we have developed it and started to produce it. The first limited edition of 11 pieces has been already sold out. And the second thing is that it has won the Geneva Watchmaking Grand Prix in the sports category, so crowning it as an incredible technical achievement. The third thing, perhaps, is that ever since a lot of competitors as well, conscious that high frequency was a new field very important for watchmaking, have tried to follow us. And we heard that there were developments right now in Geneva, not at 500 Hertz though, at 50 Hertz only, with a demultiplication system, which obviously doesn't really, from a pure chronometry standpoint, display anything precise. But still we see that once again TAG Heuer has led watchmaking into new boundaries and is followed by other competitors, which is reassuring because it just proves the relevancy of our concept. So now the question is, from Mars, where we landed, can we go further, but much, much further? Can we go to Saturn? And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is again, yes. Today, TAG Heuer takes you from ultra-high frequencies to meta-high frequencies. What does it mean? This means that tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever in mechanical watchmaking history, we have managed to fraction the 10,000th of a second. We are tonight measuring and displaying 5/10,000th of a second, which is, to make it much simpler, 250 times quicker than any other conventional chronograph. So it's really a quantum leap. Now, how can we get there? Because it's easy to say, let's fly to Saturn, but we have asked to a space expert, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the founder of two great companies, partners of TAG Heuer. One is Tesla Motors. We did the Odyssey around the world with them, electric car, the first time ever. And the other is SpaceX, the leading rockets company in the world. And Elon's answer was very simple, but at the time very challenging. Yes, obviously, you can go to Saturn with a manned flight. If you do one thing, a very simple thing, you basically have to reinvent the heart of the rocket. So if you reinvent the heart of the rocket, the propeller, then there's no problem. I mean, you will take a manned flight, not in a few years to Saturn, but probably in a few months, the same way you would do for Mars with a normal technology. So what does it mean when we come to watchmaking? It means basically that you have to reinvent something which has been the regulator of the whole industry since 337 years. The only concept today regulating 100% of mechanical watches all over the world. It has been invented in the 17th century by the genius Christian Huygens, a Dutch guy. And basically what he invented was the magic combination of an hairspring and a balance wheel. And ever since, everything which has been done in the field of mechanical watchmaking has always been optimizing, further developing, elaborating, evolving the Huygens concept. But basically, everything is based on the coupling of the hairspring and the balance wheel. But one company, however, which saw things differently, TAG Heuer. 2010, TAG Heuer with the pendulum eliminates the hairspring. So for the first time in mechanical watchmaking, a company comes with a regulator without hairspring. The famous pendulum, which is still under development in the final stages, by the way, for those interested. and already beating at 6 Hz. So not ultra high frequencies, but very high frequencies, as the norm in the industry, as you all know, is 4 Hz. Then TAG Heuer came back again last year, this time keeping an hairspring but eliminating the balance wheel. The micro timer, which I'm wearing, the one I had already in Basel a few months ago, is working at 500 Hz, so 10 times quicker than any other competitive mechanical chronograph today, as I speak now in Geneva, 10 times faster than any existing competitor. And to get there, to get to 500 Hz with the regulator, still working on the GPHG concept, we had to get rid of the balance wheel. So 2010, no more hairspring. 2011, no more balance wheel. So 2012, none of both. No more hairspring, no more balance wheel. 1000 Hz. So 2 times 500, and the first time, fractioning of the 10,000th of a second. Simple. Something you probably never ever seen in your life. Something you probably never ever thought in your life. A totally different principle, actually the first ever different principle in regulating a mechanical watch since Christian Huygens invented the couple hairspring balance swing exactly 337 years ago. So today, for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, not only for the speed, 1000 Hz, which is just mind-blowing, but for the concept, we are really moving away from the Huygens concept into a totally new era, totally new concept of oscillation. So, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Mikrogirder concept. It's the first ever mechanical chronograph, to measure and display the 5/10,000th of a second, thanks to the revolution in regulation. And it's not a concept in the sense, an equation. It's not just, a small regulator working alone. It's a fully assembled functional piece. Doesn't mean by that that we are ready to sell it. Means by that that it's capable, as I speak, to measure and to display on the dial fractions of 10,000th of a second for the first time ever. So how does it work? Maybe I will take an example. So as you can see on the screen, it's a linear oscillator. Basically, we are using beams, micro beams, 3 actually. And basically, you have one exciting beam, which is connected with a very special anchor. This is the excitatory beam. Then you have a coupling beam. And then you have the most important beam, the one oscillating at 1000 Hz, which is the oscillating beam. And the combination, of those 3 beams produces here a vibration at 1000 Hz in the case I'm mentioning, on a very, very small angle. We talk about less than 5 degrees, when usually oscillators have angles anywhere between 30 to 340 degrees. So the angle is very limited, and it works very simply. So here you hardly see the blue beam vibrating, just because with the 5 degrees angle, even a naked eye, only a microscope, can allow you to see the vibration. Obviously, this one is not vibrating at 1000 Hz because it's just to try to make something extremely complex understandable. But as you can see, all those beams have some flexibility until the excitatory beam, thanks to the coupling beam, will convey the oscillation to the oscillating beam. And obviously, I'm not myself an engineer, so qualified people will answer all your questions later on. But what's important to have in mind is that it allows to go to very high frequencies. Tonight we talk about 1000 Hz. In the lab we have already reached 3000 Hz, but the piece we present you tonight is 1000 Hz only. It has a very low energy consumption. The beauty of it is that compared to the Huygens system, the inertia is very limited. The angle is very, very limited, and as a consequence, at same frequency, the power reserve consumption is 50% less, which is very interesting because we all know that one of the issues at high frequency is that you have a limited power reserve. The macro timer, because we're at 500 Hz, has a power reserve of 4 minutes. The micrograph at 50 Hz already has 90 minutes. So at 50 Hz, it's quite easy to have a long power reserve, even if you demultiply to 1000. We see at 500 Hz, it's very difficult. At 1000, it's close to impossible, unless you use a different system. And the other advantage of this is that it's quite simple looking, but obviously, as you can imagine, it's very, very complex as a system because the design is simple, the making and then the tuning, because there is also an eccentric screw, as you can see on the design, is really, I mean, the state of the art. So summarizing, 100% developed in-house, again by TAG Heuer. It's a fourth high-frequency mechanical movement developed by the company in just 6 years. Caliber 360, 2005, Mikrogirder 100, 2011, Mikrogirder Timer 1000, 2011, and this year Mikrogirder at the 10,000, well, a fraction of 10,000 of a second. So 4 high frequencies mechanical movement, 100% TAG Heuer in just 7 years. The beat is 72 million beats per hour, 7.2 million beats per hour. A normal chronograph is at 28,800, a normal one. A fast one is 36,000. A micrograph is 360,000. A macro timer is 3.6 million, and this one is 7.2 million. So it's really a quantum leap. It's really a game-changing approach of regulation. And it's 250 times faster, as I mentioned, as any normal chronograph. That is 99% of chronographs on the market. This just excludes, I mean, basically the TAG Heuer chronographs. The movement itself is a dual frequency movement. So an architecture you well know from TAG Heuer, cost certified. So on the one hand, you have the normal time at 28,800, and on the other hand, you have the ultra fast time at 72.2 million bits per hour. The whole thing is simple. It's just over 300 components, which means reliability. And we have 10 patents pending. Obviously, they're not published yet, 10 patents pending, which are covering all aspects of that incredible novelty. Why a totally new regulator? Why going so high in frequencies? Is it only a race against competition? No, I think that against competition, we have demonstrated that when it comes to mastering precise time, we have ever been one step ahead since 1916, actually, and we ever kept the lead. Now, I think the point is really the chronometry. The real essence of true high-end watchmaking is first and foremost to be accurate. Let's never lose sight of that. We can do incredible things, fantastic complication, great design, but at the end, the real quality is chronometry. You must guarantee chronometry. And this system, more than ever, is an insurance of ultimate chronometry. The second point is that we can cost certify it potentially. I say potentially because it's not done yet, but it has all ingredients to be cost certified. The third point is the lower power consumption, which obviously the higher you get, the better. It's like a car. If you have a high rev engine, you have more gas consumption. So having a system with a high rev and low gas consumption is a kind of ideal dream for a car. The readability is quite simple. We talk about measuring fraction of 10,000 of a second. We managed to feature that as easily as on the macro timer. For some it's difficult, but let's say it's quite easy. It's evolutive. The application to chronograph can go anywhere between 50 Hertz to more than 3,000. How much more, I don't know. The only thing I know I've seen with my eyes, that it can beat already at 3,000 Hertz. Again, tonight we talk about 1,000 only, but probably the ideal usage span and spectrum of this innovation is 50, so 100 of a second, to 3,000 plus. So it's really the best system possible for a high-frequency chronograph pretending to be extremely accurate. And last but not least, from an industrial standpoint, it's not a wishful thinking. Right now, we have developed 2 prototypes only, but we know that because of the architecture, and you can see it by yourself, if we master ultra precision in terms of manufacturing, and TAG Heuer has everything in this workshop to do ultra precise engineering, it's doable. So those are very good news. So what I propose now is just a video. Video. all, you shouldn't applaud me, but the magic dream team behind this incredible achievement, the same dream team which brought alive the micro timer 1000, a team led by a genius of the industry. I want to speak about our Vice President of Science and Technology, Mr. Guy Sémon, who I want to invite on the podium. As you know, Guy comes from a different background than watchmaking. He learned watchmaking very quickly. And he and his dream team, I mean, in just a couple of years, have brought alive a couple of revolutions. So what we're going to do now, after the movie, is to try to start it live before the million of people on the internet. So the first ever fraction of 10,000 of a second mechanical ever shown into a functional masterpiece, a masterpiece which in the true TAG Heuer tradition is not only technology, it's the essence of our DNA, it's ultimate technology combined and embedded into a very bold, very daring, extremely innovative design as well. So the Mikrogirder, yes, it's a fraction of 10,000 of a second, but it's first and foremost an amazingly beautiful and daring piece of design. So here is the true Mikrogirder, and God helps me, I will start it. Should I?
Just a minute. Yes.
Yeah, there's no battery, so don't worry, I mean, it won't start alone. Okay, 3, 2, 1. It's gone. 20 laps per second. 20 laps per second, ladies and gentlemen. New world record. So it's working. It's working. And on this I will conclude, because there is very little to add and very little to say, needless to reassess and for that. It's really a game-changing regulator, the first time ever in 3 centuries, so it hardly ever happens in the life of a watchmaker, in the life of an engineer, in the life of watchmaster, so I'm very emotional, obviously, tonight to be part of this page of history. And the advertising you're going to see tomorrow will just summarize it in very simple words, a new art for strong emotions, because eventually, ladies and gentlemen, luxury is all about art and emotions, and today more than ever, TAG Heuer is proposing a brand new art for brand new and very strong emotions. Thank you, good evening, and let's have a look again at the start.
To swallow up your sky and burn like firebirds so bright into the stars tonight, right into your toxic light. To swallow up your sky and burn like firebirds so bright.
Okay, thank you, good evening, enjoy the evening, and see you in a minute to share it with you. Thank you again for having come.